The UKIP leader Nigel Farage has apologised if people think he's discriminated against Romanians, but has stood by claims that they're responsible for a significant amount of crime, particularly in London. Nigel Farage today likened his party to the Millwall of politics as he campaigned in Kent ahead of the European and local elections this Thursday. Our political editor Nick Robinson was with him.
How are you? All right.
Yeah.
I'm Nigel. Hi.
Yeah, I know who you are.
Nigel Farage has come to a place where he's amongst friends.
And
Great
thank
lad.
God there's an Englishman who knows what the British public want.
UKIP got more votes in Ramsgate than any other town in the country.
This is the man who talks sense.
Well, I do my best. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you do. And I don't care how they're trying to smear your name.
Yeah.
Last night, the UKIP leader said his words about Romanians had been wrong. He blamed the fact he'd been too tired. This morning, the party took out a full-page ad to explain his words which the Sun, amongst others, have dubbed racist.
I was asked a question, would people be concerned? Would people be concerned if 10 Romanian men moved in next door to them? The honest answer to that is, at the moment, they would be concerned.
Forgive me, Mr Farage.
But we can change
Quote, UKIP, any normal, fair-minded person would be concerned if a group of Romanians moved next door. It doesn't say men, it doesn't say 10, it doesn't say criminals, it doesn't say gang.
I did not say they should be concerned, I said they would be concerned, and that is a reflection of reality. But I want to change that by getting back proper border control.
Would it be acceptable to say if Jamaicans move next door, people should be concerned?
No.
Nigerians?
No.
Irish?
No, there is a...
Signs in the window that say no blacks or Irish here?
Can we just have an honest appraisal of what has happened to post-communist Romania? All right? Across the whole of the European Union, amongst all 28 member states, 7% of all crime is committed by 240 Romanian gangs.
I asked him a half dozen times whether he was apologising. Eventually, he did. Sort of.
If I gave the impression in that interview that I was discriminating against Romanians, then I apologise certainly for that.
It may look like the Med here, but this is a place with high unemployment and where immigrants, some like Alice, who's Romanian, feel unfairly stigmatised.
No, it's a bit hard to take, considering the fact that we're here and we're working hard and we're trying to make a living, we're paying taxes, we're all right, so it's a bit hard. It's a hard thing to hear.
Not all who've read or heard Mr Farage's explanation are convinced.
I think that they could be construed, and very many people could consider that they were racist.
Do you?
I certainly won't be voting for them, no.
But these fishermen see Nigel Farage as the only man prepared to stand up to the EU.
And the regulations now are absolutely beyond belief.
Well, we're out canvassing.
Others who back him on immigration do so without, it seems, knowing anything else about what he believes.
Do you know anything else he stands for? Do you know what his policy on tax is? No.
Our taxation system is ludicrous. It's pages and pages long. If we had a simpler and fairer tax system, then maybe more people would be not being immoral and actually doing the right thing and paying their taxes.
We don't have much time to go there, but your tax system would be a flat rate, very low tax for everyone at the same rate. Is that right?
We are looking into that in our manifesto.
You haven't got a view yet?
Yes, we have got a view. We want a simpler, flatter, lower taxation system, and we would take lower earners out of the taxation system and so that they can enjoy the fruits of low earning.
Know what his policy on health is?
No.
How would he run the economy?
No, I don't know. No idea.
Yeah.
Mr Farage has called for more spending cuts. His deputies called for more privatisation in the NHS.
Hello, how are you? All right.
That doesn't seem to
Nice to
count.
meet you. You want who do you support?
Millwall.
Millwall. Wow, there you go.
And UKIP.
The slogan of Millwall fans is, and he knows it, no one loves us, and we don't care. Nick Robinson, BBC News, Ramsgate.
Nigel Farage insisted today that he and UKIP are not racist. He's so keen to ram that point home, he's even spelt it out in a full-page advertisement in a newspaper. The accusations of racism followed his remarks that people would be concerned if a Romanian family moved in next door. But not Germans. Mr Farage said he was making a particular point about Romanian criminal gangs, not a general attack on Romanian people. Our political editor Gary Gibbon caught up with Mr Farage to talk to him about it.
David Cameron, along with Ed Miliband and Nick Clegg, found himself having to respond to what the fourth party leader has been saying. Nigel Farage's suggestion in a Friday interview that people would be understandably uncomfortable to have Romanians moving in next door.
I was asked, if a group of Romanian men moved in next door to you, would you be concerned?
What about if a group of German children did? What's the difference?
The difference, and you know what the difference is.
No, I honestly don't.
That was followed this morning by a full-page ad in the Daily Telegraph in which the UKIP leader proclaimed his party was not racist. The other three party leaders were asked if they thought Mr Farage or his party were racist. All three shied away from the R word, but condemned Nigel Farage's language.
Well, I think it was a pretty unpleasant thing to say, and he's himself recognised that. But frankly, it's just the last in a whole chain of things that UKIP candidates and financial backers have said over these elections, that, you know, it's all right to rape your wife or black people should go back to Africa. I think people have had enough of all this.
Despite all that sort of, cheery bonhomie from Nigel Farage, the mask is slipping. To say that you should single out one community or one nationality and say you don't want to live next door to them is just the politics of division.
Well, he's definitely right to apologise, because those were offensive comments. They were a racial slur. I don't think he should have said them, and he's certainly right to say he's sorry.
Strategists for the main parties say they don't want to up the rhetoric any further and risk giving Nigel Farage what they call martyr status. I caught up with the UKIP leader as he campaigned by Manston Airport in Kent. He'd said on Sunday he'd made a mistake with his language. What did he think he'd got wrong?
You got it. I was asked a question, would people be concerned? And I think the answer is a lot of people would be concerned, because they know there is the trafficking problem, they know there is the crime problem. But I in no way want to give the impression, as I might have done at the end of last week, that a whole group of people should be labelled as being bad. I don't. And, of course, the vast majority of Romanian people who come to this country are good people who are working hard.
But some people are already saying the mask has slipped. What you actually did there was maybe a bit tired, end of a long day. You let slip what you really think, which is that...
what I did was I didn't answer the question. I said, look, you know what I mean. I was, in a way, what I was trying
But my question is, did the mask slip?
No, the answer is, I didn't do what I normally do, which is, if I'm asked a question, to answer it honestly. I really didn't want to have a debate on this issue, but I've now been forced into it. And when you look at it, when you discuss it, you realise, actually, open-door immigration to some southern and eastern European countries, frankly, doesn't make sense. And we should. I've spoken to the police, I've spoken to the border agency staff at Dover, and they are just tearing their hair out because they haven't got the ability to stop known criminals from coming into the country. And that, I think, is a power that we need to have.
The danger in what you said, wasn't it, is that it has echoes of things that were said in the 60s, the 70s, about having, whether it was Irish living next door or black people living next door. That's the potent...
Well, and that's why I said yesterday, if by not dealing with this issue head on, I've given that impression, I'm sorry.
But other politicians don't fall into that trap. What some people might argue is that you're playing rather close to the wire on this, and that's how you've fallen into
Other politicians don't discuss
You're pushing the envelope a bit, like.
Other politicians won't discuss this issue. They want to brush it under the carpet, and they don't want to debate about it. And I do want to have a debate about it, but I want it to be on the right terms. And I repeat, I in no way want to give the impression that Romanians are being singled out here. They're not. It's just that their country.
No other politician has to go around apologising for singling out races, and you do. Doesn't it say something?
Well, it's never happened. Well, it's never happened before.
Doesn't it say something about your politics that you've got yourself into this position?
No, I don't think it does. I didn't want to have this argument. I didn't want to have this debate. All through this European election campaign, we have talked in general terms and broad terms about open-door migration, about numbers. We haven't even touched, frankly, on the crime issue. But sometimes, when you do a lot of interviews, you don't always get it right. And hands up, I didn't get it quite right. So we've now finished up having a debate about this, but in no way do I detract from the idea that we need to have a proper control policy with countries like Romania.
In terms of the ad itself and what you put in the paper today, 92% of ATM crime in London is committed by Romanians. The Met tell me there is no such thing. The Met police say there's no such thing as ATM crime. It's not a statistic that is formally kept.
Well, we got that from a senior Metropolitan Police officer, and if you look at the advert, every single statistic I quote is sourced.
And the second statistic, 28,000 Romanians arrested in the last 5 years. Arrests, this is, not charges. Well, we don't know what for. We don't know whether charges happened. Aren't you in danger of
that's the second
feeding the scare even more?
Well, that's the second part of the problem. The first part of the problem is we can't stop criminals, known criminals, at our borders from coming in. The second part of the problem, and it's not just EU rules, it's also the Human Rights Act, is we actually have a big problem now in deporting people who've committed crimes.
Well, you can't say 7% of all crime across the 28 EU member states was caused by Romanian gangs, because Europol doesn't say that. Europol says 7% of all gangs are Romanian, which is a very different thing.
No, 7% of crime.
No, that's not what they say.
Well, maybe they're getting nervous and backtracking, but I can assure you we've checked and sourced all of our figures, the 92%, the 28,000, the 7%. These are very powerful figures. All they are there for is an illustration that we should not have open door migration, and we must have control of our borders and stop criminal gangs who are trafficking and using and abusing people. Now, this is happening in our country, and we shouldn't allow it to happen.